First tonight, Congress Street runs through the heart of downtown Portland. It's probably the busiest and best known urban street here in Maine.
You could walk or drive down it 1,000 times and still not know all its stories. Tonight, here's one of them. Even though Ken Pierce works just a third of a mile away and had passed by Mechanics Hall more times than he could count, he had never been inside the building until he dropped in a few years ago.
Came up, I got a tour, and I was completely overwhelmed. I was like, I cannot believe this gem is in the middle of downtown Portland and we don't notice it.
Mechanics Hall was built in 1859. It was the home of the Maine Charitable Mechanic Association, whose members, carpenters, stonecutters, barrel makers, and more, worked with their hands and rarely had much formal education. A key reason why those workers formed their association in 1815 and then constructed this hall was to house a library.
Which is to say that it was involved in teaching the mechanics of the day how to read and write, which is quite possibly something they never would have learned without the library.
This is one of the oldest libraries in the U.S. To come in here for the first time is to feel a sense of discovery.
I just walked in. I was on my lunch break and I was looking for someplace interesting to eat it, and I just opened the door downstairs and I thought, am I allowed in here? And then I heard music and I thought, well, yes, I am allowed in here.
On every floor, Mechanics Hall gives off an almost palpable sense of history. I like these ledgers. They look like they should be in the background of a Charles Dickens movie.
Right.
Some of that history has literally left its mark.
This building was a mustering spot for Civil War soldiers, and they were fed in this dining hall. And with this low ceiling, when they came up here, they had their rifles over their shoulders, and the sights on the rifles scratched the ceiling coming in.
It's a remarkable building, but not without problems.
We need a new roof, which means a flat rubber membrane roof. We need new siding. We need new copper flashing. All has to be done within historic standards. Because without those things, we can't maintain the integrity of the building and keep it open for public use.
We're blessed, but a building of 1859 vintage requires a lot of tender, loving care. And usually that involves money.
We had to figure out a way to catch the water so it wouldn't leak down into that beautiful ballroom you saw. Didn't want plaster falling on a nice performance.
A few years ago, the board and staff of Mechanics Hall realized that to preserve the building and its mission, it had to be opened up to the public, especially to people who work with their hands, people from the arts and creative community. You're pretty clear about your goals. You want this place to become better known in the community.
Absolutely. I mean, it's sort of our #1 priority.
The first task is to let people know the hall is here, a venue for music, performances, lectures, all kinds of events. The ballroom, which has already seen a lot of changes, will be the heart of Mechanics Hall.
I will often stand at the entrance of this ballroom and greet people as they're coming in for a function or for an event. I can't tell you how many people walk into this room and physically gasp. They are so surprised to find this space in the center of the Arts District.
The room where dance lessons were given more than a century ago is now used for everything from contemporary dance to swing. But if you want to dance, you got to pay the piper. And a full upgrade of the building will likely cost $8 to $10 million.
It's going to be a big challenge. We think the more people we can get in to see this beautiful building, the better chance we'll have in raising that money.
This window, these windows, good example of the challenges in the kind of reconstruction that you have here. You don't just go to a big box store if you need to replace a window like this.
No, and not just this window here, but the other windows that you can see in the space here, they all need to be historically restored.
So here's the challenge. Restoring everything in a historically accurate way is, of course, expensive, in part because not many workers have the skills to restore a building like this.
It's very difficult to find the tradespeople to do the work these days.
It's kind of an irony, isn't it, that you're in the mechanics hall,
Right, and we got
you can't find the tradespeople to do the work to
mechanics.
fix it up.
That's true.
So Paul Stevens, whom you just heard from right there, and who is an architect, is the great-grandson of John Calvin Stevens, quite likely Maine's greatest architect ever, who designed more than 1,000 buildings in the state. John Calvin Stevens also taught drawing classes at Mechanics Hall.
That is something else.